some other people, and it may actually reduce the price of the facility to open it up to maybe some people who might not have been interested before. So I'm hopeful to get that approved. As long as the parties all approve of the process, the court, there will be a stipulation, and the judge is very likely to sign it. If for some reason I can't get an agreement among the parties, I'll go to the court and ask the judge to approve it. But I'm very hopeful that everything will go well on that. The other thing I'm going to be doing is interviewing some new brokers. I think I want to give a chance to other people to see if they can help us through this process. One of the things I'd really like to look at is maybe a local broker for the land, and maybe definitely a CCRE broker, because we want to keep this as a continuing care facility for the facility. So I've got a little reconnoitering to do to get this set up exactly how I want, but I will keep you all posted, and I think it's going very well. Julie and I actually met with Dan Fairbanks with the JPA. The last time I spoke, I had mentioned working on the deeds and the changes on the deed, and it looks like we're going to have some real good luck, some good cooperation with them to open up the facility officially for non-military. They have agreed that it is okay what we're doing today, but a buyer coming in wants that deed taken care of. So I think we made good progress on that. No matter who the broker is, we're going to be setting up a war room with all of the information, the financial information, everything that a buyer is going to need to be able to bid on the property. I want to make sure that each of those people have signed a non-disclosure agreement, and I want to make sure the information that they're provided is very accurate. So I really don't want anybody going around that process. I had heard something about some of the employees being asked for information, financial information. I really don't want that happening. I want to control the process, I'm sure, as you all understand. And I wish I had a good joke to tell. Everybody looks so serious. Lee at least made them laugh. So I do want to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions regarding?
Yes, please. Have you made any initial contact with the Air Force regarding the deed?
I have not spoken with the Secretary of Air Force. I have made some contact with some people, retired military, and I was told that the best thing I could do is to get the approval of the JPA, then approach the Air Force, because they're going to be looking for the JPA's opinion. So I'm trying to sweeten them up a little bit before I go directly to the Air Force.
Thank you.
How much vacant land do we have?
I believe it's 68 acres. Julie? Correct. Which is quite a bit of acreage. You know, it has some issues with it, and we kind of want to control how that's developed, but that's my job to try to figure out to bring in the right person for that. Ron?
Ron Engwitz in District 10 alternate. Does that 68 acres, is that strictly what's behind the maintenance that can be developed, or does it include that pile of rocks by the front gate?
It does not include the pile of rocks.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not quite sure what happens with the pile of rocks.
Karen Finley, so when you say that opening up the bid to separate out the land and then the actual business, does that land also include the land that we are currently sitting on, or is it only the vacant land?
Only the vacant land.
Thank you.
So at this point, I'm not looking at changing the campus facility at all. Really just looking at maybe paring off the vacant land. I could see a developer maybe wanting to come in and put in over 55 housing in there, which would be ideal, because that would complement our facility, you know, as they get a little bit older, they can move on over to our facility over here. But we're open to ideas right now. I was actually handed a list of questions that I'd like to go over now that everybody else has asked their questions from Jerry Murdahl. And his first question is if I have contacted the Air Force Secretary, and I have not. I've answered that one. The second question is about will the receiver judge transfer our case to a judge that has the authority to take us into bankruptcy? And that was answered by my counsel on February 22nd. And I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to try to paraphrase what he said. Have the receiver declared the AFVW for sale with notice to the media? I have not done that yet. I need to get my process in place and get a broker in place. And I can see maybe something going out to the media at that time, but we'll have to think about that. The status of the pending sale offer with the receiver. I do have to say that that buyer has not pulled their deposit yet. They have come back and they are still in discussions. Don't want to get your hopes up one way or another on that, but I am going to say they have not pulled their deposit yet. The AFVW is exempt from the BOD following the Davis-Sterling Open Meeting Act. I would say yes, they are exempt, and I believe that was answered on February 22nd, but thank you for the reminder, and thank you for those questions. Anything else? Oh, there you are.
Come to the mic, please. We have channel 3.
Excuse me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bellann. I did not hear the answer, if it was present by your attorney, on the answer to that question.
Which one? The one about the bankruptcy or the one about the Davis-Sterling?
Both of those.
I could have Julie pull the meeting notes, and I'll be sure to give those to you. So it should be included right in the meeting notes.
I thought I was there, and I thought I heard the answer, so excuse me for answering the question. It goes to my poor memory. Would you please explain who the JPA is?
Oh, that is the Joint Powers Authority. It's actually, their technical name is the Marsh Joint Powers Authority. And they were formed to help with the development of the Marsh Air Force Base. And they have a lot of control over the various counties involved and any development that happens. The Air Force looks to them to solve some of their problems.
Do you see any change in the mission statement that we had basically in our founding to take care of us for life?
I'm not going to comment on that one way or another. I'm
not trying to put you in a box,
Yes,
Bellann.
maybe you are a little bit.
I want the answer, because if not, I want to escape.
Well, I'd like you to give me a chance. I am definitely putting out, I'm trying to get the best buyer in here.
I appreciate that, and I have full confidence in that.
And I think I'm going to be able to accomplish that, but I don't want to say definitively that everything's going to be perfect.
I appreciate you can't nail it down. Thank you very much for your patience.
Oh, and you did have one question that I did not answer that I jumped right over. The number of inquiries responding. It's a little early now because we haven't really put out the bidding process, but I can tell you right now that several of the buyers, previous buyers, have contacted me, and both profit and nonprofit, and they are very excited that we're putting this back out.
May I ask one more question?
As long as you don't ask who that was.
How long have you given Pacifica to make up their mind?
Well, we technically are not under contract with Pacifica.
I understand, but I thought you were in the process of not listening to their revised offer to us.
Well, it is, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this. I told them their offer was not acceptable. They have not pulled their deposit, and they have opened up the table for discussion.
Okay, if they get back to you in time, they can do something, but if they don't get back to you, they're out of luck. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Sure. Wait, I think Al's first here.
Much of the vacant land is a strip of land. This is Al Diaz, Rescon Chair. Most of the land, or a significant part of the unoccupied, unused land, is a strip of land that's about wide enough for a road from Village West Drive to the maintenance area. What use is that? Is it really very saleable?
And that is the question of the hour.
I can answer that, Bellann.
Okay.
Yeah, there are 68 acres. It's a separate parcel. 7 acres along our south border has a width of about 300 feet, good for a road. On one side of it is 27 acres that is rocks and hills, not really developable. There are 45 acres, in answer to your question, Ron, that is surrounding our maintenance department. 45 acres, that's good land, all usable, but no real access. You'd have to come through the village to get to it. So that is a very big problem in assigning a sales price.
Well, and we will not be assigning a sales price. I know I've been asked a couple of times what the sales price is going to be. Typically in receivership, we give them as much information, and then we have a bidding process. We let the market decide what that price is going to be. Now, we may take those offers and do a best and final after we do that, but there'll be a process, and there'll be an overbid even after that, more than likely. So, and from what Lee is saying, when I was talking to the Marsh JPA, they did suggest that the best entrance would be through the facility. So they're really looking for us to come up with a complementary use there, like an over 55, where we can have an easement or something like that. But there's still some value. There's some real value to that land. How much? It's what the market's willing to pay. We'll have to find out.
I have to. One, there is value to that land. I've talked to Sherry Kazawa, District 6. There is value to land. I've talked to JPA, and I've seen some plans on it, but you know, they can determine that. But I do have another question. You know, some of the residents have been asking about the profit and non-profit, and one of the things that we want to know, you represent the courts too. You represent the court, isn't that right?
I am an officer of the court. I answer to the judge.
And then, what's the court's, have you received any information at all about the court, how they look about this being profit or non-profit entity when it's finished, you know, the work on it or the sale? Is there any, because we have a lot of people have signatures signed that want a non-profit at all if possible.
I have not spoken with the judge. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the judge was recently changed from Judge Waters. It is now, I'd have to look up the judge's name. So I have not had any communication with him, but typically in my experience, the judge is going to be looking for my recommendation. I doubt if he's an expert in profit or nonprofit, and I do believe that as I go through the bidding process and try to find the best buyer, that the judge would be open to hearing arguments on both sides. But I doubt if he's going to really be interested in even having that discussion until I bring in all the offers and there's something to compare to say, is this company better? I strongly feel that there are really great nonprofits, and I think there are really bad nonprofits. And I think there's some really good for-profits that are ran very efficiently, so the residents really get a real benefit and they pay less and they're getting better services. And there's some really bad nonprofits or for-profits that are just out for money. So I find it difficult to just say, I want this to be a nonprofit, period. I want it to be a good company. And I want to be able to have the bidding process, bring in those bids, and evaluate every one, and not based on their tax status, but based on how good a company are they? Do they have good financial wherewithal? Do they care about the residents? You know, those kind of things. That's the way I look at it, and that's what I will be telling the judge. But I don't have anything to say to him until I get my bidding process and figure out who's going to bid here. But I can tell you I have been contacted by both profit and nonprofit already that are looking forward to the bidding process.
I have a question. Lee Walker. Pacifica, they would like to buy us, based on my understanding, but at their terms, their price and their terms. That's fair. That's fair. And one of the difficulties that I'm trying to understand is they spend about 5 months in due diligence. So you're looking for new buyers. How much due diligence time are you going to allow?
Well, you know, initially I had thought about 60 days, but primarily really loading up the war room with so much information that it could be done in that time. I'm being told that I might need to move that to 90 days if it's a brand new company coming in that isn't involved. So that decision hasn't absolutely been made today, and that's a very good question. But it would probably be between the 60 and 90 days. And hopefully I can get a lot of information on there so people can review it and rely on it so that they don't have to come in and be bugging Julie every day for more information. I really want to control that process. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Good morning. Gretchen Cheney, District 1 Primary. I just want to speak for myself, and I'm sure many, many residents, how happy that we are to have you here. And I feel so confident that you're going to make the right decision for the village.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really do.
And we should end on that note. Thank you.
Question here.
Oh, sorry. One more.
Please identify yourself.
I'm Ron Akers from District 5. Be very careful how you quote how many acres we have of excess land. When the 40 acres were bought up where the maintenance area is, it may have been actually more than 40 if you do a very due diligence on that. There was a whole strip of land which Lee has brought up all along the north side to protect our tax situation so we could erect a fence to not get taxed for that land. That was probably 20, 30 acres. We have